And welcome back to the Dr. Downstream channel. Yeah, I took the roller pump out. I did. I didn't put it back in for this year. Went back to the Fatboy, It just had to happen. Um, the roller pump was an experiment. It works out to be a little bit more performance than the Fatboy, but I really wanted to just kind of, I don't know, save a little bit of space, I think, in the truck bed setup. And so I'm going to shelf the roller pump for now. But wanted to give you an idea of what my truck is looking like for this year. This is pretty much how I roll for residential right here. Since I keep 200 feet of high pressure on the reel, I keep a spare 50 right there. And that's how I go. I use 6,000 pound 2-wire hoses for the high pressure. I used to use 4,000 and they would just blow on me every once in a while at the fitting. So I heard the 6,000 is a little bit better, and so that's why I'm doing that. I ran all my electronics for the Fatboy. I zip tied it, and it's kind of like going up into there and around and into my controller box. You can see I've got my line going up for my work lights, which actually work now, and I can just flip them on, and there they are. So that's really nice for working at night. I'm telling you that right now. So right there, that's my Fatboy switch. When I turn that on, that's going to be drawing from that battery right there. I'm using the starter battery for my remote valve connection. The remote valve doesn't draw hardly anything. That guy right there, that motorized valve, he doesn't draw hardly anything. So the engine maintains a 1 amp charge on this little starter motor. On this starter battery right there, this deep cycle. So I don't really worry about it. Also, my overhead lights are wired to this box right here too, because there's something that gets used very lightly. They just sip power if I'm using them. And so having them connected to my starter box just made sense. The bigger marine deep cycle discharge right there, I've got a little on and off switch right there to an 80 amp fuse, to a bus, and then everything is fused out from there. This is actually just powering the Fatboy. That's literally all that battery is dedicated for. So unfortunately, it's not set up to any sort of like a trickle charger or like an automatic charger. The only battery that's constantly charged is this guy right here. So I might have to figure out some sort of solution for that. I bet I could probably get like a $10 charge controller on Amazon and charge this battery off of this battery just constantly. Because the Predators, I looked it up and apparently they put out like 1 amp. That sounds kind of low, but that's their charging capacity is just 1 amp. So it's like a maintenance charge, if anything. So I'm going to straighten up these wires a little bit more, but I got them all zip tied back. And what you're looking at with these two lines, I was just testing my Fatboy system with the blue gun. Just looking at distance on this guy, got about 40 feet out of it, but it's not even meant for that little of a GPM. So it still works though. Like for putting chemical down on like concrete or doing awnings or like roofs where you don't have to reach a whole lot. This is not bad. This gets about 40 feet of range, but I want to build a wand that's appropriate for the Fatboy, because I've seen guys get some pretty crazy range out of that, like 60 feet or more. Like a 2-story peak is not a problem for them. But my 2-story peak is actually a problem for this right there. My peak is at about probably 30 feet, and it's just not hitting it. So I'm going to have to get a different kind of a gun. But the outlets, these are just my tank outlets. I drained my buffer tank. And this guy right here is, I can use this for draining chemical. But what this is it's an important piece of hardware that you're going to want if you ever go with the Mr. T style proportioner. And the reason for that is if you close everything off, if you have everything shut off, pressure will actually build up inside of that thing, and it'll pop you. I mean, it'll bust, hoses and stuff. Because the automatic valve right there, that when that turns off, it automatically closes. And so if you don't have a valve open where the system can breathe, then you'll come out here and, like, I've been out here before, and like this hose was like a banana. It wanted to just blow off of there. And so I'm sure it was a ton of pressure, probably way more than it was meant to ever have. But that's just one thing to keep in mind. Like if you do go with the T style, it's great. I'm telling you, like when I started out, I wasted so much time and money batch mixing. Like I'd pull up to a house for a house wash, and I'd get that 5-gallon bucket out. These days that bucket doesn't really do anything. It just kind of sits there until I need it. But I would have to actually, I'd set that bucket out. I'd put my surfactant in there. I was just using Gain back then. I was one of those people. Now I'm using Snotminade, and I'm way happier. But everything changed when I went over to an automated Mr. T style mixer here. Yeah, it was expensive. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not like one of these people who's like, oh, look at how much money I spent. But if you're gonna build these, do it right. Get the Asahi valves. Don't even screw around with the Pentair stuff. The Pentairs are just so unreliable. You don't know if you're gonna get 3 days or 3 months or 3 years out of them, but most of the time they just break. One thing I've seen guys doing that's really kind of, I don't know why they're doing it, but they're getting nice Asahi mixing valves, but they're going and putting on the Pentair check valves. The problem with the Pentair check valves is that they're Pentair check valves. They're very restrictive, and so when you're drawing that chemical, when you're drawing that water, it's fighting a lot of restriction. The check valves that you can get for these Asahis, you don't even have to use Asahi brand, but don't use the Pentair. I use this brand I got on Amazon. I think it was called Tiger Shark or something like that. It was a $20 knockoff of this check valve right there. That what you're looking at, that's Asahi. Don't get me wrong. Like that's not a knockoff. That's an actual Asahi ball valve. Anyways, Dr. Downstream, stop talking about your ball valves. Moving on. Excuse me. I just wanted to make sure that for this year everything worked. So that included me getting a new switch panel. The old one was just done for. It's the same box, but the switches, I just got fresh switches. I had to replace a couple of relay harnesses and switches all around. The connections on the engine were all rotted out. The solenoid was done. The electric start on my machine hadn't worked in forever, but now I got that nice and fixed. And fresh solenoid, fresh wiring, and it actually starts when you hit that key. So if you guys are thinking about building a rig, or if you got a rig, if you have any questions, I'm happy to spitball with you in the comment section. I can only tell you what's worked for me, and I like to be able to be as efficient as possible while still working out of a truck bed. My goal is to be able to hit a 2,000 square foot house and be done in less than an hour with this system, top to bottom, not even trying to rush it, but just doing a really good, clean job. And that's what I'm about. So if you guys have any questions, I'll see you in the comments. Otherwise, I'll be seeing you in the next video. Take care.